Morning, coaches. My name is Mike O'Connor. I'm the head boys basketball coach at Dowling Catholic High School in West Des Moines, Iowa. I'm here today to spend a little bit of time with you talking about terminology and how to use it, how to incorporate it into your program. Before I get going, I quickly want to thank Coach Jason Fry for the opportunity to speak today. I'm honored to be here, and I really hope that what, albeit very short, I'm about to share, you can take one or two things from it and take it back to your program to help your program grow and to benefit your team. If you have any questions today, or if you'd like to share with us what you do, we'd love to hear from you. My email's at the bottom of the screen, moconnor@dowlingcatholic.org. Please feel free to reach out to me. Uh, Quickly, I want to kind of give you a general idea of why we started to use universal terminology throughout our program. We started doing it probably about 6, 7, 8 years ago. Our program has anywhere from 50 to 55 kids on a given year. That's 9th through 12th. Of those 50 to 55 kids, probably 35 to 40 of them play multiple sports. Some play 2, some play 3. We don't get to see our kids more than 4 to 5 months out of a given year. Because of that, we really feel like we need to be as organized and be as efficient in as many areas as we can possibly be to maximize the time that we have with our kids. And because of that, we started to adopt program-wide terminology, as I said, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We really feel like this has helped us with our efficiency in practice. It's helped us with our communication. It's helped us with in-game communication. And it's really given our kids a basic foundation of knowledge prior to entering their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade season, which has helped them become more comfortable and help them hopefully be more confident as well. Some general terminology thoughts for you. Using terminology gives your program a universal language. And this is a language that your coaching staff should be using, that your players should be using, and most importantly, you should be using between your players and your coaches. When you look at your program and you're trying to come up with what should be considered terminology, I would tell you this. Any word, any phrase that you use on a somewhat regular basis should be considered part of your universal language, should be considered part of your program's terminology. I have some examples here. You've got coverages, your ball screen coverages, zone coverages, fundamental terms, drill names are a huge one, specific offensive actions, and I'm sure there are many, many others. Those are 3 or 4 that came to mind. Use of consistent terminology makes your teaching more efficient. When you're able to briefly describe something with a phrase or with 1 to 2 words, and then you can get right to actually executing it or performing it, that makes your practices more efficient. It allows you to get more work done instead of getting more work done explaining something. That's really what terminology is for, is to help you get into the doing part and to spend less time communicating what exactly you should be doing. Our program terminology is always evolving. I'm going to share a document with you here in a little bit that we've put together over the years. I won't say we visit this sheet daily or even weekly. It's probably something we do once to twice a year now, just to go back and add terms that we're now using, or to remove terms that we're no longer using, or to make changes to terms. You know, there may be a drill that we called this, but now we're calling something else because we feel like it fits better. But it's always evolving. We're constantly looking at ways to find ways to try to communicate better, and our terminology is really, really important in that process. Value of program terminology for us. Having program terminology really does 3 things for us. Number 1, it simplifies our communication. Number 2, it improves our practice efficiency and our in-game communication. To give you an example, when we're in practice and we go to do a shooting drill called 3-man 2-ball shooting. Well, when I say 3-man 2-ball shooting, after the first time we do it, our hope is that our kids know exactly what we're doing. It takes them 15 to 18 to 20 seconds to get into that drill, and now we're going. The first day, it may take 2 or 3 minutes just to explain the drill, and then we only get to do it for 2 or 3 minutes because we've run out of time. Well, the value of the terminology is that now we get that extra 1 or 2 minutes of doing as opposed to that extra 1 or 2 minutes of communicating what we're doing. That's why it's important to name your drills so that you can spend more time executing the drill than having to explain it day after day. In-game communication, an example here would be your ball screen coverages. For us, our ball screen coverages are colors. We have silver, we have green, and we have blue. We usually start every game in blue. There may be a time where we come down and we say green, green, green. Well, now that tells the kids we're going to trap. Instead of me yelling trap and giving it away to the opponent, we yell green. We may come down and go silver, which means we're now going to switch everything. Well, instead of saying switch everything, which is a longer term, simply saying silver, silver tells the kids now we're going to switch everything. If we want to go back to our regular coverage of blue, which is a drop coverage by our big, and our guard going over or under, depending on who they are guarding, we simply say blue. Instead of having to tell our big man to drop and our big guy to go over or under, that's not realistic in a game. The third thing that terminology has done in terms of bringing value to us is it provides our players with a foundation of information. From year to year, there are certain terms that they are going to know which help them transition and acclimate to the next level of basketball that they are playing within our program. I also think them having a fundamental knowledge of certain terms gives them a comfort, and I hope it gives them a little bit of confidence too. And when your kids are confident and when your kids are comfortable, it's our belief that they're going to play a lot better that way. How to maximize use of terminology. The number one thing I think we all should do as head coaches, for those of you that are head coaches, if we have program terminology, demand that your assistant coaches use it, whether it's your varsity assistant coaches or your coaches at the 10th grade, the JV, the 9th grade level. Require them to use the terminology. The terminology doesn't do any good if only you as a head coach is using it. These are terms and calls and phrases that you want everyone in your program using. Share your terminology with your players if you want to maximize it. Obviously, they should hear you say those things on a daily basis, but give them a document with key terms in your program. You would be amazed at how much this may help their learning, or how it may not get through to every guy, but maybe 1 or 2 kids have gone through that document and know it really well, and now they can help communicate it and teach it to someone else. And now you're starting to develop some leadership too. So share your terms with your players. Let them know what you think is important. By you giving them that, you're sending a message that these things are important. It would be smart of you to understand what they are. And they're not going to understand all of them, but if they review them and then they see them with you and they have them emphasized every day, they'll start to become habit for them. You have new players and new coaches every year. When you have new players, give it to them. Help them transition. Help them acclimate to your program. Same thing with new coaches. Don't wait till the first day of practice to start working with your new coach to teach them the ins and outs of your program. Give them this sheet when they sign the contract so that they have months, weeks to start preparing for what it is that you do, how you teach, the words that you use. We just hired a new coach last year, and his biggest thing was wanting to make sure he had our terminology down, because the terminology he was coming from his old program was good, but ours was a little bit different. And they had certain ways they called ball screen coverages. We had certain ways we called ball screen coverages, and it was important for him to get adjusted and adapted to what we were doing. So share it with your new players. Share this terminology with your new coaches. And then most importantly, the best way to maximize it is use it every day. Use it in film. Use it in your individual conversations. Use it in your teaching points when you stop practice. Use it in your camps and clinics. When you're teaching and coaching in the summer with your high school guys, use it there. When you're coaching your elementary kids in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, use the same terms, use the same drill names. It's amazing what comfort and confidence it can give kids when they've heard something 3 or 4 years, as opposed to having to relearn new terms and new ideas every single year. Finally, I want to share with you briefly our program terminology document. We recently created a Google sheet. We had it on Excel years ago, but we moved everything over to Google Sheets here within the last 2 or 3 years. We basically came up with 3 pages: a fundamental terminology, defensive terminology, and offensive terminology. And what we did when we initially created this is we got together as a staff and we just went down and we talked about what are the terms, phrases, drills that we use the most. And we don't have our drills here. We have a separate sheet for that. But what are the phrases, the terms, the sayings that we use the most that are important for all our coaches to know and that are important for all of our kids to know. And what we came up with is what you see here. Now it's evolved and it's changed. We get on and we add things and we subtract things every year. If you don't have something like this, I would strongly encourage you to create it. Maybe not so much for your sake as the head varsity coach, but for your assistants, for your lower level coaches, so they can see the things that you're saying and how you're defining things so that they can use those things too. We are really big about having everyone be on the same page in our program. This defined terminology, this universal language really enables us to do that. Just in closing here again, I want to say thank you again to Jason for asking me to share with you guys. I really hope that you were able to take 1 or 2 things from this presentation that you can take back to your team and your program and help you grow. And if you have anything that you'd like to share with us, please share. Spending a lot of time on email now with the home quarantine. So I'd love to hear from some of you guys and what you do. Best of luck to all of you next year. And thanks again for listening.